afternoon and welcome to Sailplane Grand Prix on day 5. Sorry we've had a few technical problems with that stream, but we're getting our ducks in a row now, and we'll bring you another great race hopefully today. We've got 13 minutes and 40 seconds to go before the start, and Benji's just going to give you a view of the task. So from the start today, we go north 61 kilometres up to turn point 1, and we're expecting the competitors today to take the higher route round to the right towards TP1, across the valley, and then come back onto the ridge that you can see there. And then from turn point 1 back down to turn point 2 is 103 kilometres, and this is in the higher part of the Andes, and we're expecting them to be flying between 4,000 and 5,000 metres down this run to turn point 2. From turn point 2 they have a short leg back at 21 kilometres to turn point 3. They've got to maintain their height, and otherwise it's going to be a bit tricky to get there. And from turn point 3 they then run south again, a distance of 73 kilometres to turn point 4. At which point they're going to put their foot down, we expect, and they'll come around the front of the mountains. Benji's working really hard to give you the screens. Run back down towards the valley here in Vitacura, and that's exactly 1 kilometres. And then just the last little leg is 3 kilometres from the turn point, just to keep them straight them up to finish. Finish altitudes again today is 850 metres. Airfield height is 646 metres, I think. Start height today, we have start altitude, that's interesting. Tar sheet I've got says no limit, but I'm sure there is a limit.
2,800.
2,800, I've just been told. We'll get that sorted out on the tar sheet. So 2,800 metres. The competitors are climbing away at the moment, not far from the start line. And current altitudes, we've seen up to 5,000 metres, and it looks like the majority of them are between 3,000 and 4,500. 11 minutes to go. The weather today, we're expecting a bit better than yesterday. Temperature is dry today in terms of speed and where they go, the altitude they get. We're expecting between 31 to 33 degrees as they go higher into the mountains, and that should give us climbs up to 1,500 metres. Winds, not really significant, but there's typically a westerly flow. Down on the airfield it was about 5 to 10 knots westerly. Altitudes, we expect the winds to be northwest or north-northwest, again sort of 5 to 15 knots.
More audio.
We're just getting a few things here organised. So we were a bit rushed earlier. We had a problem with the data stream, but it's now back and running, which is good news. The grid walk we managed to we've done earlier, but we weren't able to broadcast it. But that will be available later on YouTube if you want to see some of the interviews with the pilots. Still struggling with a few technical problems here, but hopefully the sound has got a little bit better.
Maybe we try this one as well, Sean. Good afternoon. The audio is a little bit weak, guys. You can see we've had some technical issues, but we're working on it. So let us know if you can hear this okay, and then we can try and fix that.
Just under 10 minutes, and the competitors will be starting to think about making their way towards the start line. They've got to descend down to 2,800 metres for the start. Mario's coming to join us. Bear with me a second. Hopefully this will be better. We're just swapping microphones around. Yeah, hopefully, if you can hear us now, just let us know in the live chat. If you want to join in and ask us any questions, please use the YouTube link and go to the live chat, sign in, and then we'll be watching your questions. So any technical questions, Angel Casada will answer by text. Any flying questions, we will try and answer over the commentary. I don't understand what you mean, Fletch. What do you mean? Just hold that. Yeah, hopefully we've now got the sound sorted out. Right, 7 minutes 50 seconds to go. Right, gentlemen, next to me I've got Brian and Mario from the club, who knows the area. Mario, can you tell us a little bit about where you might go down the first leg?
Well, hello everybody. From there.
So, bear with me a second, we're just swapping over microphones. We'll get this sorted out before the start of the race.
From that area, then you go to the Inca Lake, and then from there, the Inca Lake, to mark that turn point, you have to be flying around 4,000 meters. It's a way inside of the mountain. It's not very easy to get in. You go through this way. You go through this way, you mark here, and you come back the same way and following this ridge all the way south to get to the next point. That's a high flying. They should be going around 5,000. In that area you get very good north wind, tailwind, and that will give you a very, very good speed going south. Coming south, you have to get into the it's a gate close to the copper mines.
We'll just sort out Mario's. We're having a right disaster here today, but we'll try and get our act together before the start. We've got 4 minutes and 55 seconds. The competitors coming down to the start line now. We'll certainly starting to think about it. They've got to descend to 2,800 meters for the start, and there is a maximum speed limit across the line of 170 kilometers an hour. We've got an Nimbus 4 up in the sky, and we'll try and give you some information from them. In fact, they've just called us. They're up high and enjoying themselves, and Brian's now going to turn the volume on his phone off, so it vibrates only from now on. That'll be good. As we watch the competitors coming back behind the line, they need to be, with 1 minute to go, they need to be behind the line or its extensions. And we can see Didier and Thilo and Thomas Gostner, plenty of height. They're just going to come back and just gently descend behind the line. And Freddie in there from Switzerland also following on, and the main pack now coming back in towards the start. And we've now looks like we've managed to plug in a second microphone. So Mario, you were saying that coming down the second leg, they need to stay high, 4,500 to 5,000 meters.
Yeah, that's the best way to do that. You come to the gate of the copper mines, and then you go into the that area is the gate.
On the right hand side of the screen as we're
That's
looking at
right,
it now.
yes.
Yeah.
And if you go east of that gate, then they should fly the Olivares. Olivares is a big Grand Canyon, which is that one there, yeah.
Yeah, the one at the bottom right of the screen that we're looking at now.
That's right,
So
yes.
actually, we've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So what we're going to do is just go back to the watch the
Excellent.
start. We'll come back to you about that, Mario, and we'll talk more about the second leg. So Benji's just organising us a screen. You can see now all of the competitors coming back behind the line. As we said before, they need to all be behind the line, or its extensions 1 minute before the start. And looks like they'll all make it. I don't think there's anybody gone walkabout today. All descending. Maximum start height 2,800 meters, and the maximum start speed is 170 kilometers an hour. Penalties, if they're too early, there's a big penalty. It's 10 times the number of seconds that they're over the line. They can't turn back. If they turn back, they're disqualified, and that's really for a safety reasons. Minute and a half to go as the competitors all come in behind the line. If they're too fast at the start, it's 5 seconds for every kilometre an hour over the speed limit. And again, we're just trying to control the altitude and speed to make it a little bit safer at the start. The other things they do is they will only now turn left. So everybody, it's a bit like a flock of sparrows. Everybody go in the same direction. We stand a much better chance of they're not bumping into each other. So it looks like now they're all behind the line with a minute to go. And so I don't quite know what you're pointing out, Brian, but yeah. So 37 seconds to go, and they quite like this right-hand side of the line. The view we've got at the moment is a little bit distorted in it, but we look like Yankee, who's Giorgio Galetta. He is actually behind the line. Just taking one more circle round. 22 seconds to go. Roman Merchek looks like he's heading towards the line. John Gatfield's just coming along behind the fleet, going from left to right. Start gate opening in 5 seconds. Mark Tingey from New Zealand leading the fleet out with Alfa Romeo, which is Gintas Zub from Lithuania, in seconds. Start gate's now open. Everybody's got a clean start. So no start penalties in terms of being too early. In terms of altitude, there's a couple that are still pretty high, actually. Werner Armand's still just under 3,000 meters. He'll need to descend to get through the line and control his speed. And we're just starting to see, looks like Thilo's fancies going left, and there's another group here with Gintas there heading right, and Bostian off in the distance. There's a better view. Thanks, Benji.
It's very interesting looking at this today, Sean, in the start. Aman and Sebastian Nagel are hanging back a little bit. I think that now they've got some points, they'll be a little bit cagey and they won't want to go pushing out in front just yet. I think we'll see a very cautious start from everybody and they're trying to stay together down the first leg.
Thilo heading left. Not quite sure where he's off to. Perhaps he's seen something. There are no clouds today. Certainly not down at this area of the mountains.
In that area of the Españoles, we've seen some cumulus, and we can see that Bostian is going from the start straight to the ridge of the Españoles, not going to the valley, and that's not a bad idea.
So from 2,800 meters, their start height, Where will they get to in the Espanolis? Will they be
Right-
able to, on the
right-
right-hand side?
Right on the right-hand side.
Where you can see
he's-
Bostian.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Echo Juliet, JS1 from Slovenia. The rest of them, though, look like they've spotted something to the left. Is this
Well,
the laboratory that they're off to?
That's almost the laboratory. Laboratory is ahead of them, but that
You as much of this as we can. Meanwhile, the main group have stopped to climb just on the edge of the laboratory.
that's right. That's what we call the South Laboratory. We have on the other hand, on the upper left side of the screen, the North Laboratory.
And while they're climbing, it's not the best of climbs, just sort of 1 to 2 meters. They seem to be happy to stick together for the moment. Meanwhile, Bostian, we believe, is still carrying on up to the Espanolis, although we're just losing a bit of data from him.
Yeah, he's gonna fly there.
Yeah, he's just stopped to climb. Looks like he's got a 2 meter climb, and the group back on the laboratory, again, they're climbing about 2 meters as well. So yeah, this it's interesting. Bostian going off on his own. Climb rate starting to get better now. Just saw 3 meters from Tilo. Pretty much the same altitude. Bostian there at 2,800 meters, and the top of the pile here is Fridian from Switzerland. He's at 2,900 meters. Just see if anybody makes a move. Yeah, first one just moving off there is Fridolin from Switzerland. Or he's just moving on, seeing if he can find another recenter a bit further away.
And Mario, how much height does Bostian need to continue on that ridge to get over the next gate?
Just about 3,000. With 3,000 meters, he might be able to go inside of the Espanolis. But to make the Espanolis work, he should be up to 3,300 meters. And from there to go inside of the Espanolis. It's the same thing that they're going to do, the ones that are on the laboratory.
Yeah,
they will gain some altitude, and from there they will have to move inside.
Looked like Bostian recentered and moved on. Climb rate started to drop off, so he pushed away from where he was climbing, and he's now actually heading even further east and higher up the Espanolis. Meanwhile, back at the other group, I saw 4 meters there from Didier on the top of the group. Looks like it's steadied down to 2 meters now. They're all sticking together, over 3,000 meters now. What sort of height, Mario, would you think they would leave?
I would think that they will leave around 3,200, and from there they will move to that area.
On the right-hand side of the screen.
That's right, and in that area you get an extra altitude to go inside of the Espanolis safely.
Yeah, it looks like they're first just leaving. Didier pushing on, followed by Werner Arman, Fridolin, and also Thomas Reich from Chile. John Gatfield in there, and Yankee Oscar, and Tilo 3 Victor moving on too. To see if anybody's going to stay behind and see if they can get any more height. Sebastian Carvaz decided that it's time to follow the pack. Seeing if anybody stays behind. No, they're all pushing on now. Looks like Sebastian Nagel has got a little extra height and he's pushing on too. Distance to the next turn point looks like just under 50 kilometers. So Bostian's not that far in front of them. Bostian 49.3 to go, Didier is 50.5, so less than a kilometre in it. similar altitudes. Just waiting to see what happens next. So they're running along this ridge to the right, to the Españoles, and then they will head north.
They will head north. That's right.
Yeah.
And when I said to get into the Españoles safely, is that if you get below 3,000, sometimes you don't get the good lift that will run in that ridge. So
yeah, you want to be on the top, don't you? You're right on the top.
But
so
the top is 3,600, and but if you get to 3,200 and you keep going in, that's the way that you get the north wind, the northwest wind, and that way you be able to fly that ridge.
Yeah, just looking at Bostian running here.
They're
he's still
almost
running, but he's climbing 1.2 meters per second as he runs. Didier
That's
a
right.
little bit behind, just on evens, maybe a little bit positive now. Flying at about 180 kph, so they're not pushing too hard just yet. The rest of the group coming together. Didier, they're just pulling up in the energy. Just saw a 2 meter pull up. So they're bubbling along the top.
Yep, yeah, that area. But from where Didier is now, with the Zulu, then you can see already they're getting a strong support.
Bostian now just about half a kilometre in front of this group. Hasn't quite got away from them yet.
Yeah, I think what happens on this sort of ridge is where the ridge is gentle and the slope is more gentle, the air also is travelling horizontally, so it's travelling along the ground, so you don't get quite such a vertical component. But when you get right to the top on the crest of the ridge, it goes much more vertical lift, and that's the energy that they really need to climb up. And we can see the Bostian is just down a little bit where it's a little bit more gentle, and so he won't be getting as much energy from the air as the sail planes which are going along the top of the hill.
That's what I was trying to mean when I said you have to get into the Españoles safely. If not, you get below and you keep moving north to south to keep gaining altitude. We can see here that some of the guys are going up to close to 4 meters per second. They're above the 3,200 meters that we mentioned.
As they go further along the Españoles, what sort of altitude is the top of the ridge here?
3,600.
3,600.
Yeah.
And it gets steeper the further you go north.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And do you think they'll have to stop and climb, or will they be able to just gently bounce the altitude?
Usually in that area, you have to go back and forth a couple of times. I'm sure that once they get to the end of the Españoles, they will come back south to get up to the 3,600, and probably more than that.
We're doing pretty well so far. Fridolin and Didier up at 3,300 meters, so they've managed to gain 150 meters so far.
Yeah.
Just flying gently in the lifts here. Nobody running away, but Mario thinks that they're likely to run forward and then actually come back on themselves. I'm not convinced. These guys just want to push forward all the time.
The thing is that they have to go into what we call the tercer filo, which is the third ridge, to get into the high mountains. And to get there, you have to have at least 3,800.
Yep, they're gaining more height. Didier now taking a turn, just pulled up in 4 or 5 meters and just taking one turn. Doesn't look so good on the outside. dropping down to under a metre. And they are indeed coming back. Well done, Mario. Some of them are pushed on though. This will be interesting. Didier with Gulf November, who is one of the local pilots here, Thomas. We haven't managed to get hold of him to talk to him on the grid yet. In fact, we interviewed his empty glider today because he wasn't there.
Is that right? Yeah. Now we can see that some of them already moved to the next ridge.
Yeah, Fridolin and Zulu Zulu, which is Thomas.
That's a local too.
And Papa, Sebastian Carvaz, decided to move on as well. Giorgio Galetto in Yankee is on the top of the ridge, peeling off left now. Werner Arman with Giorgio Galetto. Mario just saying that on the left-hand side of the screen here, where we have Sebastian Carva, who's found a really good, strong climb on that ridge. They'll take a route to the left and then around to the north of the screen. Still everything to play for. Nobody's dropped off the back just yet.
I think it's important to remember that whilst 3,700 meters seems high, we know they need another route, but it doesn't look like it's a good one, but it's just a chance they're going to take a shortcut here.
Yeah, the more easterly route, which is directly up from their current location in the middle of the screen to the top of the screen, whereas the other group have gone much further left. Brilliant colours on the mountains here. These are satellite images, and they're as true to life colours as we can get.
That area we call the red stones. That
yep.
All that area is being shown because the color is like that, and that's another interesting route. If you go straight to the northeast, and at the end of that ridge of red stones, you have a very good and strong thermals.
So current situation, Fridolin has pushed on. He's now 29 kilometers to run to the next turn point. Didier in this group at the back right has got 38 kilometers to run. So a bit of a split now.
Yes, it looks like. Here we're going to see probably Tilo, who's a guy that knows these mountains very well. He's moving in the northeast direction, and probably Didier is going to follow him.
Definitely Tilo now taking the route to the right, Didier following, and Bostian with him as well. We'll see if we can't I'll have another quick look at that view. Benji's just trying to organise us a good view of them running along that ridge. They look quite high over there.
Yes.
For you, so please bear with us. I know it was good yesterday, and we're having a few problems today, but we're working on it. Meanwhile, back at the race. Sorry, Mario, you were saying?
No, Didier and Tilo, they're already turning. They're trying to get some altitude. If you get a very good height there, close to 4,000, you might go straight to the turning point.
Yeah, they're getting close to that. They're Tilo now 3,900, 4,000 meters now, and Didier not far behind. Thomas Gostin's decided that that group on the right-hand side is the one to be with. Meanwhile, the other group, are they stopping and turning? Yeah, it looks like they've stopped to turn. They're all quite split up as well now.
Yeah, but the group where Sebastian Nagel is way down there is not a very good route. The best route is in the front,
Yeah,
on
they
the
seem
front
to
of
be
the
moving
screen,
on now.
or in between the two routes. Ones that we were talking, the one going to the left, or the other one that Mario is doing, probably going to the area where he flew yesterday. He's not having a very good height. It's only 3,600 meters.
Just checking there. Sebastian Nagel has he's gone sort of between the two, really, and with his height of 4,200 meters, he can make a straighter route, a more direct route to the turn point.
That's right.
There's a group in front, Fridolin, Mark Tingy and Giorgio Galetto. They're a lot lower, 3,500 meters. So if they push on across the valley to the turn point, they're going to need to climb before they go down the next leg, or they'll have a long way round to go rather than staying high.
We can see here on
On the right hand side of the screen,
the next group who is going into, I think, is also coming a bit low.
yeah, the
We
view
know already that Fridolin is sinking very fast. They will have to come to the beginning of this ridge to get some height again.
So this group, just to explain a little bit more, they're below the top of the ridge. They're having to
That's right.
Come into the turn point, and then they're going to come back out almost in the wrong direction.
That's right.
We can see Fridolin here just working along the ridge, just hoping he can find something, flying out of the valley, but he's going to come a long way south.
That's right. That's an excellent view. To the right side of the screen is where they should get some height again before continuing south.
Meanwhile, we know there's another group with Thilo and Didier in a little bit further back. They had 15-20 kilometers to run to go into the turn point, but they were up around the 4,800 meter mark.
Now we have another group where Mario Kislin is on the left side of the screen. They probably will try to go to the turn point on the north side of the ridge. All of the other guys went into the south ridge. Going into the right side of the ridge is not a very simple thing. It's more complicated. They found some lift. They should get as much as they can.
Yeah, it's Lucas climbing with Mario Kisling
that's
there.
right.
Not a fantastic climb, 3 meters, but
Yeah.
it's better than the group on the north side.
They are flying the north ridge. This is the north one.
Yeah, I've got lots of people pointing at the screen, but I'm not sure what they're telling me at the moment. So going through the turn point now is Werner Arman and Giorgio Galetto in Yankee. Zulu there is Thomas Reich from Chile. I tell you who we haven't seen today. We haven't seen Rene. Where's
Rene was
today?
flying with Sebastian Cava behind.
In Alpha Tango, yeah. Oh, there he is at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And John Gatfield and Sebastian Carr together.
I think that Cava is going to follow Rene.
Yeah, 4,000 meters. That group.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Werner Arman.
With that group with the 4,000 meters is probably going to go inside to the turn point, but in the upper part of the ridge.
Yeah.
And that's going to help them a lot, because you gain altitude going in and you gain altitude coming out.
Yeah, we're still working on the quality, trying to get the video and the sound to be as good as we had yesterday. I'm not quite sure why we have the problems, but the boys are working hard, and we'll bring you the best we can. Meanwhile, we know that Fridolin has been round the turn, but he's now very low. Just found a little something there. He's got just under a metre. You see him in the middle left of our screen. Meanwhile, a lot higher, we've got Alpha Tango, that's Rene and John Gatfield and Sebastian Carver. Haven't been round the turn yet, but they're much higher on top of that ridge. Brian.
So, Sean, while we've been trying to fix it, I missed what happened to Sebastian. How did he drop back there? Did they stay for a long time to climb on the ridge before?
Yeah, they didn't have as good a climb as the group that pushed on. But we've now got the situation where we've got 4 or 5 gliders that went round the turn, pushed on, went round the turn, but they're low in the bottom of the valley, trying to get a weak climb to climb away. And the others can either see that or are feeling that what they want to do is to stay a little bit higher, but be a bit more cautious, go into this turn point high so they can actually go straight down the next leg rather than having a long way to come west before they can come out of this valley.
We can see that Sebastian Cava and Rene are climbing there close to 4,000, and the group who is coming out is around 500 to 600 meters below, and they had to go somewhere to get some altitude.
Tilo running into the turn point now, about 300 meters higher than the other group that we can see climbing middle left of the screen.
And the guys who are coming out lower, they are going to have to take a more southerly route to the next turning point, because they can't get into the main valley up on the top, the valley that runs down through this area here.
Which is what, Brian? Exactly.
The Pedamente. Yeah.
Pyramid.
Yeah.
I think that Tilo Pro will just probably continue to the inside, although he's looking at Rene and Sebastian, who are flying a good lift, and will continue going. In the north part of the valley, we have Mario and Lucas, who are already reaching the 4,000 area.
Yeah, getting up to 4,000 meters on that
Yeah.
side, and then they've still got to go through the turn point. And then, do you think they'll come back on the south side of the ridge where Didier and Tilo are?
Yes.
Or do you think they'll go back where they came from?
No,
They'll come back.
They should come back in this way. Yes.
Yep.
Here might be a good decision, probably. Tilo's trying to still get some climbing.
But John and
Didier
Didier moved on.
continue to inside.
Yeah. Sebastian and Rene still turning. I wonder if they'll stop on this turn and move on. John looks like he's found another climb, taking one more turn.
And Rene is going in, and Cava is following him. On the left side of the screen, we can see that Lucas and Mario, they already moved to the turn point. They should make a right turn and come back into the south ridge of this canyon.
We've got one question here about the altitude limit. Is there an altitude limit? Well, not while they're flying during the race. There was an altitude limit at the start line of 2,800 meters, and the only other limit that I know of is the finish line, and they've got to be at 850 meters or above the finish line. So the rest of the flying area, we're blessed in Chile with very little airspace, so no restrictions.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that we don't have a limit on airspaces, and we can fly as much as we can and as far as we can.
The group that were first round the turn of Fridolin, Mark Tingy and Roma Mercek look like they're stuck, just trying to climb up the side of this ridge. Actually, Mary, what's this range of mountains called that we're looking at here?
No, I don't know the name. Usually, what we're going to see probably on the right side of the screen later on, what we call a Juncal, which is a very high one.
Yeah. We're hoping that we might have a bit of information from our eye in the sky. Just getting them connected. Flying a Nimbus 4 over the top of the group, and hopefully we'll get a weather update.
Okay, Alex, can we hear you?
And Alex, can you tell us what the weather's doing? No, nothing heard. Alex, can you hear us? Oh, I'll just take that one off as a. I think we've got something coming through.
Easy task to make a phone call. Okay, perfect. Well, it took us a while to get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost Alex again. Okay, we'll come back to him once we've got a better signal. Meanwhile, this group that came in low, some have left, some are still trying to work on it. Werner Armand's coming around the west side of the mountain now.
Okay, perfect. Well, as I said, it's a wonderful day. It's good visibility one more time. We have great markers, cumulus clouds above all the ridges. The base of these clouds is around 4.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost Alex again. Okay, well, we'll see if we can't get a better signal and try that one again. So this turn point is the northernmost turn point, and they're supposed to be heading due south now. But
That's right,
this range of mountains are in the way, so they're actually all coming
It looks
a
to
little
me,
bit further west.
yeah, looks to me that Gulf November is in the upper part of the screen with no good coverage. He's flying at 4,700, and that's the route. You came from there to the turn point and back in the same way.
Okay, one more time. As I said, if you move to the ridges towards the east, the higher ridges, the cloud base also rises up to 4,800 meters. We can see beautiful clouds marking all the ridges. The interesting thing is that at Los Españoles, we had very good climb. It was quite easy to find the thermals. But when we moved east, the ridges at the east were kind of hard to connect at the 3,000, 3,500 altitude. Once you're above the ridge, everything gets organized and you climb quite well. We saw a few gliders pressing in towards Inca Lake, number 1 turn point, quite low, and I think they will have a hard time connecting on the ridges. And there is a second group that flew very high and will stay in the higher system that is actually working very well and very nice. The lists are organized and they come together from all sides of these ridges, and they will have a chance to climb all the way up to 5,000 meters if they want and cross south to the next turn point almost straight. So visibility is great, and the wind is not very strong up here. We have about 15 kilometers from the northwest. It moves around a little bit on the ridges, so it's mostly influenced by ridge and not so much by the general wind of valley. So we'll give you more update as long as we have another connection with you guys.
Okay, and Alex, looking to the south on the leg going south from the turning point, are there cumulus on the top of both ridges? Oh, he's gone now, so he'll call us back in a few moments.
We've got most of the competitors now around the turn and heading down this next leg. Is that 103 kilometers heading south to San Gabriel?
That's right. Yes, I think that this route I mean, to Andres, this route is going to be one of his usual way of flying. We know that he's 45.
This is Andres
Andres
in Gulf November. Yeah.
It's right there.
On the left-hand side of the screen.
Right. And he's going to go all that ridge straight all the way that way.
Yeah.
The others would have to climb to reach that area. You can see that some of them are 4,000, and that's not good enough. You are into the valley. You have to go on top of the ridge of the mountains.
So
where
Andres with 4,400 meters. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And now he's going to get a tailwind and probably going to fly all these ridges very fast all the way south.
Okay. Well, we'll look to see how he gets on with that. Total task length today, 360 kilometers, or just under 359.16. Andreas's average speed at the moment is 89 kilometers an hour, and we'll just have a look at one of the leading group. Lucas is now at 102 as an average speed, but he's a lot lower, 3,500 meters. Just checking to see who else we can see here. Sebastian Nagel, 4,150 meters. Looks like he's got a climb here on the left-hand side of our picture. Taking a slightly different route from the others.
We can see on the upper part of the screen that Zulu, it just got to what we call the pyramid, which is like a pyramid. And probably Alpha Tango is also going to go there. That's an area of good lift.
I should think the view out of the window would be spectacular. Hopefully we'll get some of that GoPro footage later, which we'll build into the highlights program. Sebastian Nagel still climbing now, 4,200, nearly 4,300 meters. Got a climb rate of 3.5, nearly 4 meters per second. Giorgio Galetto with him there, and I think that's Papa Lima, Whiskey Golf. That's Werner Arman together. As they get a little bit higher, we get a bit more in the way of signal.
You should be able to climb there. I hope close to 5,000 to continue the ridge and to go to that gate that we have.
Fridolin clearly didn't get the climb, and he's moved on up the valley.
Yeah.
I hope there's something for him to climb in a bit further up there. It doesn't look very, very appetizing. Carrying on.
I think that he's turning. Yeah. There he is, 4,200.
Yeah, he's a bit further down the slope than the others.
Tilo is going to them. And we can see that Gulf November.
Yeah, Andres on the left-hand side of the screen. He's a little higher and running along, as he told us, along that ridge. Now, having caught up what we think is the leading group now.
Andres is just going to continue that well-known route to him.
Yeah, so he's running. This other group still climbing. Climb rates now, Tilo, 4.5, 5 meters. There's a group on the right-hand side of the screen which we think are stuck down at 3,500 meters. Papalina, that's Lucas and Mario Kisling, working along the edge here. In fact, coming back down the track, actually going the wrong direction, just trying to find somewhere to climb. Meanwhile, I've got two groups now. A group on the left with Sebastian Nagel, Werner Arman, I think Tilo is in there, yep, and Giorgio Galetto, along with Mark Tingey climbing well. And another group on the right-hand side with John Gatfield, Didier, Golf Tango, Thomas Gostner and Rene.
And Sebastian Cava.
Yeah. So they're not too far apart. There's probably, just trying to judge the scale, about 600-700 meters between these two groups now. In terms of distance to run, they've got around the 83 to 90 kilometers to run. We've got 2 or 3 that are down in the valley a little bit further ahead, but they're going to need to climb to get out of there. So we think these guys that we're watching here on the left and the right of the screen have got the right kind of idea. They've got the right altitude anyway to be able to make the next jump across this valley. And what's this valley called, Mario?
That's the valley is called Saladillo. It's a copper mine at the end of the valley.
Ah, is this where we went yesterday?
That's right.
The blue lake on the right.
This was a turn point in yesterday.
Copper mining is a big industry in Chile.
Ah, yes.
And the group climbing on the left-hand side.
Excellent climb.
Getting up to 4,800, nearly 4,900 meters now. You were telling us earlier 5,000 meters is what you would want.
You should look for.
So the magic 5,000 meters, when they've attained this and they run along, they can really go all the way to the next turning point, because the mountains drop down from here and they're in the point of the flight where they need the highest altitude, Mario.
Yeah, that's right. Once they pass this gate where they're going to aim in a few minutes, we have Olivares, which is it's a valley, goes from north to south, so it's in the way straight to the next turn point.
So the image we're looking at now, so that's almost due south we're looking at. Will they fly down that valley?
They should go through that gate.
Yeah.
And that's the valley.
Fantastic. Now the second group that were climbing behind have now left, and they're coming to join this other group. So we've still got plenty of gliders altogether. I wonder what's happened to that group that went off to the right-hand side, down in the valley to the right. They would have a lot further to go. Benji's just working to see if we can get that picture. Yeah, there's Mario and Lucas down at 3,300 meters. That's a mistake, isn't it? They're not going to dig themselves out of there.
And it's not a very good altitude to be there.
So this group on the left-hand side.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, this group on the left-hand side have got the right idea. With highest at the moment is Sebastian Nagel, 5,100 meters. Giorgio Galetto in there as well. And at the bottom of that stack looks like John Gatfield, but at least he's with the right group. Echo Juliet, Bostian in there as well. Didier, Rene, Mark Tingy, Thilo, Sebastian Carr. He's never too far away from the leading bunch, is he? And Thomas Gostner has decided that he doesn't want to be on his own anymore. He's going to come and join that group too.
We don't get a very good signal from Gulf November, which I think probably he's already a bit south of what we can see on the screen. Yeah,
it looks like the first group has started to leave.
That's
and
right.
Sebastian Nagel has left now, so is Giorgio Galetto. Thilo's going a little bit further left. Werner Armand's still climbing. Sebastian Carr chasing after Thilo with Mark Tingy. There's a great view. Thanks, Benji. You can see that Thilo's decided he wants to run along the spine, whereas Sebastian Nagel is a little bit further right, heading for the higher peak.
And in this sort of area, they'll be relying quite a lot on the gradient wind, on the northwesterly wind, giving them lift off the slopes. As you can see, it's mostly snow covered, so there's not much convection from the sun, not much thermal activity, but each of the little bowls and valleys will bring the wind up through them, and they have to climb up in those areas. But if it's just right, if the wind direction is just right, they should get a little bit of help all the way along the top of the mountains. But they need to be very careful up here to get over the next gate. Then they're on the way. Then we will see everything change, and speeds will be much higher, and they'll really push for it.
Yeah, just as a bit of a recap, first leg was 61 kilometers to the north to Inca Lake, and we saw a little bit of a split there. With quite a few of the gliders actually going in low around the turn point and coming back west. Some of them managed to dig themselves out, and now we're watching Sebastian Nagel and Thilo, who made the best of that, whereas some of the others managed to get themselves stuck. Fridolin, who was the first around the turn point, got himself stuck in one of the valleys. And we haven't seen him for a while, but he's climbing 4,800. Sorry, just been pointed out that he's right in front of my nose, running at 200 kph behind Sebastian Nagli. Papa Lima on the right-hand side of our screen. He was very low. We haven't got an altitude. Have we? 3,700. Yeah, so he's 1,000 meters below these other guys. Zulu, that's Thomas. He's pushed on, but he's again very low, 3,200 meters. So we're just watching them run down the second leg. We think they're about 60-70 kilometers to run down to the next turn point, which will come past the valley that our airfield is in here, and they'll go a little further to the south. It's about 40 kilometers further south than the airfield. Sorry, a little bit more than that even. Nearly 80-90 kilometers south of the airfield for the final turn point at 10.4. 10.2, yeah, total length 103 kilometers from where we were.
You've got to enjoy watching Sebastian Nagel flying at the moment. He's leading the competition. He knows that he doesn't need to take any big risks at the moment. He just needs to put up a good performance. But he's not shy. He's pushing out ahead. He's climbing high, and he's just going every time. And the main group here are following Sebastian. I love it when we see people pushing on, even when they don't need to. It's fantastic flying from Sebastian.
Yeah, this group are certainly pushing each other along. Sebastian Carver now decided that he's going to make the running, followed by Alpha Tango, which is René Vidal. Mark Tingy saying, I've had enough of this and I'm going to try and keep up with these guys as well. Werner Arman now leaving. Mind you, behind, Giorgio Galetto still climbing at 4 meters, and if it was that good, I'd be hanging on too, I think.
Well, I think that the guys that stopped there for climbing, I think that they just don't need it. We can see that Sebastian Cava and René Vidal, they will just continue this ridge flying. They're going to go through the gate that we talked before, and from there on, they pass into the Olivares Valley. As you can imagine, from the north wind that we have here, once you get close to this gate, you get a fantastic lift. You can see here from 8 to 10 meters per second.
Yeah, René clearly knows this area. He's pushing hard now with Sebastian.
Yes.
Just watching them all run along these peaks now. And from here, where will they go? Right or straight on?
Usually you go through the west side of the valley. But sometimes you can also go to the east side of the valley. It depends probably from the clouds that you have at that moment.
This is another one of Alfonso's tricky tasks then.
Uh-huh.
So there's plenty of choice of which way to go.
Where Rene and Sebastian are, they already passed the gate, the same lift that they got for the north wind. Now you're going to get a sinking, sometimes a very strong sinking, a very turbulent as a rotor, and they move into the east side of the river.
This is quite interesting. I'm just trying to work out where I might go from here. It looks like they've got to make a big decision here. They've either got to go left around the east side of this valley, or I'm not quite sure whether there's anything good on the right.
This area here is a glacier, and we can have, this is the east side of the valley, and this is the west side of the valley, and that area there is the end of the valley. This is a long valley, but very good for ridge flying.
So we're not expecting them to stop at all now. Just
No.
keep running along here.
They should not. No.
Yeah. In terms of distance to go, Sebastian Carva's got 268 kilometers of the task. We'll just give you a distance to the next turn point. So Sebastian now 71 kilometers to run. René Vidal just with him. Looking further back, looks like Gintis back at 95 kilometers. So they're only, 24, 25 kilometers apart?
That's right, yeah. I think that once they pass this gate until the fourth point, the fourth turn point, it's going to be just on a straight flight.
Average speeds now just over 90 kph, but we're expecting that to climb rapidly as they run along this ridge we can see just directly in front of them, where they're not turning quite so much.
Yeah, but they should try to keep the altitude, just to fly the ridges and get speed, because they have the second turn point, then they had to come back north to the third turn point, and then it's a tricky one, which is the fourth turn point. The higher you are, the best you're going to go.
Yeah, that gives us a good view of the likely route that they'll take, staying on the east side of the valley, all the way down to turn point 2. The rest of the group behind are deciding to climb a little bit more before they jump across to where Thilo is in 3 Victor.
Yeah, but we can see that Thomas Gosner, it's moving, they're all moving to the left side.
Yeah.
You can see how their sink is very strong. And Didier looks like he's going to the other side.
Yeah, trying
On
something
the-
different.
Yeah, on the west side of the valley.
Yeah. As my colleague says here, he's French, so he'll do something different.
Well, we know, we've seen already that Didier has decided that he's only going to do well in this very tight contest with his Ventus 2 if he can find a slightly better way. But sometimes the obvious is the obvious, and you should follow the obvious. But let's see how he gets on. We saw him in the Grand Prix in Sistron make 1 or 2 brilliant decisions on a different route, which pulled him up, and I think his maverick pilot, he's probably quite prepared to make his own decisions and try something different, and that makes it very exciting for us to see how it works.
Meanwhile, while we're watching Didier run along the western side of the valley, just a reminder that if you'd like to add your comments, you can do. Just click on the YouTube link on the video and you can join in the live chat. Any of the technical questions Angela Casada is trying to answer with a text service, and any of the flying questions we'll try and answer on the commentary. Hopefully things have settled down a little bit now on the technical side, and you're getting a reasonable stream. Cracking view we've got here. There'll still be snow on the mountains where they're flying at the moment?
Yes, yes, all that area is a permanent snows.
We're hoping a little later that we'll get a bit more information from Alex, who's flying in the Nimbus 4, to give us an update on what's happening with the cloud and the valley breezes. Actually, Mario, what would be happening with the wind in this valley?
Well, usually you get it's very strange. Both ridges, east or west, you always get good lift. You will think that there will be a rotor inside, that the one side will go down, the other side will go up, but it's very strange.
Yeah, Didier crossing the valley now, deciding that it was a bit lonely where he was, and Gulf November running ahead.
I thought that his decision was going to go on the right, I mean on the west side of the, and he's crossing the valley to follow the group. Now we can see that Gulf November is he's ahead.
Andres now with only 38 kilometers to run, something
And
like
he's flying
15, 16 kilometers ahead of Rene. That was that extra altitude that he gained. It was 300 or 400 meters higher than the others, and just flew straight.
Who knows where the gates are?
Yeah, he's not really a beginner, is he? I mean, he's 31 years in the mountains, 4,000 hours.
That's right. Yeah. It's he being a good explorer of the mountains, especially in winter.
Yeah. Do we think he'll go left or right here?
No,
or straight on?
You have to just continue to get that ridge, and then there is an area around there. You just follow. Go here.
You just
go around this peak and then continue there.
Okay, that looks good. Yeah. Yeah, the Nimbus that we've got flying is a Nimbus 4D. Somebody was just asking the question. And in terms of what the wind's doing right now, we know from the forecast at this kind of altitude we're expecting between 5 and 15 knots north-northwest. So they've got a fairly good tailwind component at the moment.
Usually it's much more what we get as a forecast. At that altitude, I'm sure they're flying something like 20 to 30 knots of tailwind. We can see that some of the gliders are turning on the ridge there.
Do you think they were stopping and turning? Or are they just pushing on? Looks like Sebastian
that's right, yes.
Nagel is just pulling up in the lift and pushing on. Don't see anybody turning at the moment. Thilo, 4,800 meters. Average speed climbing now. He's just under the 100 mark. Sebastian Nagel, 103, just coming up now. And I guess if we looked at Andreas's, his would be even higher still. Just watching them now, seeing if we can see any difference at all, but it looks like they're just going to follow each other along down this eastern ridge. When they get to the end, will they turn left a little, or will they just go straight across the valley?
No, you just go straight. You cross the valley, and you go straight to the ridge and to the follow next turn point.
So just a bit of a recap. Andreas, one of our local pilots here, followed the group up the first leg, maintaining a little bit more altitude than everybody else, and then he waited and climbed to over 5,000 meters at 10.1 and was able to stay on the top of the ridge all the way down, hasn't stopped. He's flown literally from 10.1 almost to 10.2, 32 kilometers to go without turning, and just making it work, whereas the others have had to stop and climb and stop and climb.
Will be interesting to see what's going on in the group that was left behind, that were very low in the
yes, that was Mario Kissling and Lucas.
And Lucas.
We can still see them a long way back. Mario there on the right hand side of our screen. Yeah, he's really has lost touch. But Lucas has gone a little bit further east and a bit higher. Just looking at the relative heights here. Mario Kissling, 3,100 meters. Yeah, he's nearly 2,000 meters adrift.
But they're close to the start.
Yeah, it looks like Mario's coming back. He's
looks like he's
thrown in the towel, coming home.
Lucas
That's a shame.
Lucas has recovered very well.
Yeah, 5,400 meters.
Yeah.
Do you think that's enough to catch them?
I don't know, but it's a very good height. On the other hand, we have also Thomas Zulu, who looks like they are coming back home.
Meanwhile, back at the front, Andreas is out in front with 32 kilometers to run, although we haven't had a signal from him for a little while. We dare say he's a little bit further ahead than that. There he goes, he just jumps forward as we said it. René Vidal leading this next group, another local pilot here from Chile. René's done lots of sailplane Grand Prix racing and is just such a wonderful, colourful character. Always happy, loves flying in the mountains here.
It's really nice to see Andreas out ahead there, because this sort of racing is a combination of aggression and courage and decision making and pushing hard, and yet sometimes you need to be patient and wily and careful. And what we're seeing is Andreas, who is just very careful to be in the right place and to stay there and not be influenced by everybody pushing on, because he knew that he needed to get into that high altitude band and then drift along on his own. And I think it makes it quite interesting for us that we can see completely different style and technique of flying. It's not all just about going fast. Sometimes it's about taking your time, getting high, and just drifting along the right route.
So René now and Sebastian Nagel very close together. Sebastian with an average speed of 110 kilometers an hour now, 4,500 feet. René a little lower, 4,270 odd, and just a fraction faster average speed at the moment. Just that little bit further out in front, but he's not as high.
I think that Sebastian is going to have enough altitude to go over the ridge and to continue. And René, I think that he's going to pass, but he probably will have to fly that ridge to keep the height.
Yep. They'll all be watching René because he's the local. Whilst many of them have flown here a bit.
From the beginning, Sebastian Cava has been just following him.
Yeah, and René was disappointed last couple of days. I think he was trying to push a little bit too hard. He'd prepared well for the competition. He really thought he had a good chance here. And the first two race days, he's made a couple of mistakes and not really recovered very well from them. But I'm sure that we'll see René doing some very good flying in the next few days. what's really nice is see Werner Amman's back together. The same group each day have slowly arrived in the front, and we're going to see quite a good race, even though Mario's dropped out of it.
The only difference today is Andres from the club here locally has pulled a blinder. Yep, absolutely. It's just a shame we haven't got all the tracking information we'd like from him, but he's just popped up on the top of our screen now. Looks like he's climbing 3 meters, 2.5 to 3 meters there.
That's a very well-known area for climbing. Then he will have to go to the turn point, back to the next turn point, which is right in the right side of the screen, and then probably to come back to the same area to get a new altitude, to cross the river to go to the other one, which is what we can see on the upper right corner of the screen.
Yeah. It must be the curse of the commentators, because as soon as we started talking about him, the climb dropped off and he had to move on.
Yeah. On the view that we have here on the left side of the screen, where you can see two big lagoons, two lakes. That's where the water to Santiago comes from. That's called Laguna del Yeso.
Just watching as Andres gets a little closer. He's about 12, 14 kilometers in front of the others. Just wonder if we can see relative altitudes. Yeah, Andres at just under 4,000 meters and Sebastian Nagel at 4,350 meters. So 300 or so meters ahead. Sorry, 300 meters in altitude. But in terms of distance, about 14 kilometers. This group have now stopped behind. Is that the right thing to do, or should they have pushed on?
No, I think that they should get some to keep the altitude. They are flying now at 4,500 meters. We can see ahead that that Andres is just flying over just 4,000. I think that he was going to mark the turn point and then come back to the other one. And then it's going to be a bit tricky how to go to the other one, the turn point number 4.
Yeah, that looks like a tricky leg.
Yeah.
But just looking at the group behind, if we can go back to that, Benji. So we've got a bit more data with the group behind. You've lost them now, haven't you? Just busy working away on the second screen here. The Silent Wings gives us the ability to look at what's coming next, if you like. And Benji's just given us a group shot of them climbing, and I think they may be moving on. Looks like they might be moving on there. But what's nice to see is Mark Tingey in there from New Zealand. Not been flying that long. In fact, a couple of years ago, he told me he was flying a PW5, and here he is in a JS1 in the mountains. He's got 600 hours of flying, not very many of them in the mountains. I know he's been down to the South Island a few times, but I think a total of 3 weeks flying in the mountains. So to be up there with these guys, he's done fantastically well. Didier, who was originally going down the west side of the valley, who then decided he wanted to join the others and crossed across. He's now just coming up to where Mark, just trying who else is there. Oh, Fridolin is climbing together, while the other group have pushed on. So Werner Arman, Sebastian Nagel, René Vidal, Giorgio Galetto, and just at the bottom there, Sebastian Carver just coming into the picture. But away in front is Golf November, Andres at just under 4,000 meters. Do we know he's gone around the turn point yet? We don't have any data from him. The installation in his glider is not quite as good as some of the others, so we don't get quite so many data points from him. But now he's out in front, I think we might have to spend a bit more time working on his glider and give him a bigger aerial or something. So just coming to the end of this leg, this has been 103 kilometers down from 10.1 to 10.2, and now they've got a short leg, 10.2 to 10.3 is only 21 kilometers, but could be quite tricky. You've got to get the right altitude. Before, when we were doing our planning for this, they would need to be 3,500 to 4,000 meters to cross to 10.3. As they move on down the ridge, they're nearly getting to the point where we saw Andres climbing. It's just been pointed out to me on the left-hand side of the screen, Thomas Gostner and Thilo at 4,500 meters or there or thereabouts. A little higher, but a little bit further behind on the left-hand side. Distance to go, we think Andreas has got around the 5 kilometer mark. Thilo on the left hand side, 10 kilometers. And on the right hand side, Sebastian Nagel about 11 kilometers. So not much in it.
Nice to see Bostjan back in there. He's not been having a very good couple of days. He'll be pleased to be with the leading group and doing very well. He's obviously flying very well today, and he made the right decision coming over the top, and we're getting quite a nice little fast group coming together. Mario seems to have come back to the airfield, and there are behind them most of the other pilots are hanging back and getting high, so we'll see them coming down to this turn point in a moment.
Yeah, for those of you who just joined us, we've had a few technical problems today, and we haven't been able to bring you the best quality of screen. So we've had to reduce the quality just to get you the audio and at least a picture. We'll work on it for tomorrow. We hope to be back up to HD quality if we can.
We don't have any signal from Andres, but I think that he's already going to the third turn point.
So you think he's around? He'll come back towards the screen.
Back towards that area with the cover with snow, and to get a bit of.
He'll come back and climb where he was climbing before. We saw him take a climb, right, and yes, he had to curse the commentators and had to move on.
That's right. Yes, and. Now we can have a view from the.
Yes, we'll just watch them go around the turn point. We've got a good view coming up. Benji's just going to deliver that for us. And yeah, come on, Benji, press the button. I know they've all gone grey, but just press the button. Yeah, when we lose data for more than 10 seconds, the symbols grey out a little. But we use a predictive algorithm to work out where the competitors will be next. So they pick up the next time they pick up a signal, it's normally in the right place. So just watching them go in and out of the turn point here. Looks like another turn point we might avoid in future, Brian. Not much in the way of signal here. So we think first round is Andres. And second is Werner Arman. Third going through the turn point now is Sebastian Nagel, followed by René Vidal and Sebastian Kawa just coming up now. And from the left-hand side, Thomas Gostner and I dare say Thilo. Yeah, there he is. Thilo's at the bottom of the screen as well. So they'll be coming round this turn out in the middle of the valley. In fact, the altitude of the turn point is 1,316 meters. And they're up at 3,700, 3,900 respectively. So they'll be coming back to the hills that they've just been climbing on. You see now, we're now looking north, So away from the turn point, up towards turn point 3, you can see just at the top of the screen. And we think they will follow this ridge round to the right-hand side. Mario?
Yeah, they were just probably to get some altitude there. Go to the point, to the point, turn point number 3, and come back again. Because the crossing has to be to the left side of the screen.
Yeah, this leg is actually quite short. It's only 21 kilometres, but from turn point 3 they carry on back south again, and that's another 73 kilometres south.
They have to cross the valley and to be able to go through. We can see that Mario Kislin is there.
Yes, I wonder what Mario's up to. Maybe he's exploring that side of the mountain.
Back home.
Yeah.
Jutta Stubbs asking us, Sean, what the wind's doing, and we best wishes, Jutta. We hope you're getting well now. And the wind at altitude is northwesterly, but of course below about 3,000 meters it blows in different directions in the valleys. But the upper wind is about 10 knots northwesterly.
Yeah, we've got a few questions about the task.
There we have Gulf November.
Bear with me a second, Mario. Just the task length is 360 kilometres, and if you go to our website, I believe you can pick up the task there, so you can print yourself a map and you can see what's going on. Sorry, Mario, you were saying?
I was saying that Gulf November is with a signal now, and he's getting some lift. Every time that I mention him, I think that the signal goes away. But he's getting a thermal of around 4 meters.
Yeah.
And probably all the guys saw him and they're trying to get him.
They're chasing him down. Andres
right.
is in a Ventus 2, and the pack behind him are 29s, Ventus 3s, and JS1s. In fact, what's the collective noun for a group of Ventus 3s? Because there's a whole bunch of them there now. A ventilation of Ventuses. Perhaps you can tell us what you think the collective noun is for a group of Ventus 3s. Just watching what's going on here. Werner Arman is a little further to the right, but he's hit a wall. There's a big wall of rock in front of him, so he's having to come right to left to come back and join this group. But he's a little bit higher.
The other thing that they could do is to go to turn point and come back again to this mountain, and then to gain altitude to go to the south.
Is there a name for this mountain that you would use?
Hi, Alex.
We'll just see if we can get a bit of information from Alex up in the Nimbus 4.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah,
Give you a small input of what the run was down the Olivares Valley. It took us a while to contact you. There was no signal in there. You saw that most of them jumped in very high, 5,000, 5,200 meters. And at that place, at the entrance of the valley, the clouds were at around 5,400 meters. But as you were progressing south into the valley of Olivares on the easterly ridge, the clouds actually started to drop, and we actually had to speed out the route a little bit around the clouds and sometimes even pull the brakes just to come out of the Olivares Valley at around 4,500. Which was the cloud base.
Yeah, we're just losing Alex there. But thank you for the update. We'll try and call you back and see if we can. What we'd really like to know is about the clouds and what's happening with the wind. Meanwhile, this group have decided they want to stop and climb. Although it's not just one climb, there's sort of 2 or 3 different places they're trying to core at the thermal. The group on the left looks like they've got a slightly better climb. Meanwhile, Andreas has decided, no, he's had enough, he's off.
I think that he has decided to go to the turn point number 3.
Yes, he's clearly making a bid for it. Meanwhile, this group, they want to stick together. couple of meters per second here. They won't want to get too far apart from each other. This group will work together. They won't worry too much about Andres off in the distance. They know they've got perhaps a little bit more performance in hand, but they'll want to keep an eye on each other. The points are still quite close. Andres in the 0 points club at the moment, but could come back with a sackful today.
That's right. And the other thing we're noticing today is that the speed is much lower. The average speed is much lower than on the previous 2 days. I think maybe Alfonso, our task director, was just slightly optimistic about the speed they could achieve, and they lost a lot going into that northern turning point. But we should see the speeds build up now as we fly into more consistent thermal conditions, and they don't have the problem of having to get significant altitude to jump gates. The route's pretty open now, and they should be able to bring the speeds back up into the 120, 125 kilometers an hour range.
Yeah, clearly 2 different types of tactics here. There was the group that were watching each other, just hanging on in a thermal that's probably not as good as it could be. Meanwhile, Didier just went straight through the middle of it, pulled up, decided it was no good, pushed straight on, and see if he can find his own one. And he's dragged a few with them.
And of course what we're seeing happening now is the leading group were feeling a little bit smug and a little bit happy, and they've flown on together thinking they need to stay together, while the guys behind have realized they've got to get the foot down and go a bit faster if they're going to catch up. And we can saw Papa Lima coming in there. Not long ago he was toast, he was way behind, but he's catching up really well at the moment. That's good old Lucas.
Yeah, where's he off to though? He's been round the turn point, you think? No. He's coming. Oh, so he's still Lucas is still coming back to 10.2. Yeah. Okay. We can indeed. See John Gatfield as well there. Has he been round the turn point? Do we know? No.
Oh, he's going to.
Yeah, but he's slightly over to the right. So we'll. Yeah, he's making his way to 10.3. That's good news. So he's not too far out of touch either. That's good news. 3 Victor, Tilo, just coming up to the turn point now.
I think that they get to the turn point 3, they're going to come back to the same area they were flying.
So more towards the east on the way back down this run.
On the east side, that area where they were flying, they allowed them to climb up to 4,000. And that's a very good height to cross the valley to the left side of the screen to continue to the turn point number 4.
Is this the Mica Valley?
Maipo.
Okay, Maipo.
Maipo Valley.
Valley, yeah.
Interesting. Mario Kislin is coming up.
He's gone the long way round, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's gone a long way around. And interesting. The time that they expended to go up.
Yeah, we're just checking the notes here. We're getting some very good feedback from you, which we're really appreciative of, and we'll do our best to improve the sound and the quality of the presentation.
It's Mario fooled us all. He looked like he couldn't make it and he'd given up for the day, but he's not at all. He's not very high, but he's trying to come back into the race. So good on you, Mario. Let's wish he gets a really good climb here and he can start to catch a few people up.
So just a bit of a recap. Out in the lead is Andres from Chile. In second place currently is Tilo Hollyhouse. Third just through the gate is Giorgio Galetto, followed by Sebastian Carver, Didier House, Bostian and Werner Arman, Mark Tingy, Thomas Gostner, Sebastian Nagel, who's a little bit higher than the others, and I can't quite see the one underneath. Oh, that looks like Rene underneath. So there's 10 gliders all stuck together here now. So that's turn point 3 done, and they're on their way down to turn point 4. Now this leg is a total of 73 kilometres down to Sokavon, and that's crossing behind the clubhouse here and across the valley at Vitacura. They'll be able to see the city of Santiago on the right hand side. Actually, could we do that,
No.
Benj? Could we have a quick look in one of the cockpits and look right?
We're going south from turn point 3 to turn point 4. And as we can see, the Maipo Valley, and they have to cross to the other side.
Yeah.
And this is also a tricky crossing.
Okay, just having a quick view from
Andres,
Andres glider.
He's
and
going to that gate.
So this is what he can see out of his window at the moment, and over to the right hand side, just you can see just over to the right is the city of Santiago. It gives you a bit better idea of where we are in the mountains. Right, we'll just go back to a
The
view of
gate,
seeing all of the
But the gate to
competitors.
cross here is just around here, and he's aiming that point. He's flying with a good altitude, and I think that he's going to make it very well.
Yeah, 3,400 meters at the moment, Andres. Getting down to turn point 4, when we were discussing this earlier, the run back to Santiago, it's a total of 100 kilometers, but we think if they were at 1,800 meters there, they should be able to run the whole way back along the ridge.
That's a straight flight with the ridge and probably with a high speed.
Fantastic.
And it looks like Didier is actually thinking of doing that going south, of using his altitude to get onto the ridges which face the main valley and trying to make a very high speed run but much lower, down at 1,000 meters, something like that.
That's Didier's choice. I think it's not going to work. To get to Socavon, you have to go after you go outside in the ridges, then you have to go inside of the mountain again. I mean, he's moving west, then he will have to move east once he gets to the turn point. The other guys are going to cross above the mountains, straight to the turn point.
So 2 schools of thought: stay left and high, or go right and run along the ridges.
You're right, the left or right.
And Andres still out in front, showing us the way in his Ventus 2. Just to recap, how did he manage to get there? He managed to stay very high on the first leg and went round the first turn point, nearly 500 meters higher than the other competitors, and ran down the second leg literally without turning, whereas the others had to stop 2 or 3 times to get down to 10.3, and Andres took a couple of little climbs, just moved on round the turn point, and this other group chasing him now, just slowly reeling him in, but taking his route now.
I think so, yes. Do we have another group behind and turn point?
Sorry, say again.
If we have another group, well, Lucas is there, and
yeah, just on the left-hand side, Lucas
Mario
is.
Look like he's climbing.
Yeah, I think Lucas has decided that he wants to
oh,
go and fly and enjoy his flight.
Probably, yes.
In the 0 points club now, so have a good day instead.
Ginta Sube, who's flying very well at the beginning.
Yeah, he must have missed a climb or just got
somewhere,
stuck.
Yeah.
He'll be happy. His catchphrase is no problem.
But it's people must realise that Lucas will know that he's well out of the points, and in Grand Prix racing only the first 10 get any points. So he's actually going to try and do the best of his flying now and enjoy it, because he knows at this stage the flight's really going to get very fast.
Yep.
And if you're not in that group, you're really not in the money. But it will be exciting for us to see if this little breakaway group actually choose a better tactic.
Yeah, points in Grand Prix racing. I think it's actually the first 9, Brian. The first 9 get points. First place gets 10 points, second place gets 8 points, and so on down to 9th place with 1 point.
Here we're flying. Didier is just arriving to Cerro Blanco. This is that whitish mountain there, and that is way outside to the west and way outside to lower. I think that once they get to the end of this ridge, they might have some problems to go into the Socavón.
Yeah,
which is close to the copper mine, but way east. We're going to see how they're going to do it.
The ridge runs almost in line with
Yeah.
the task line, but you're thinking at the end they've got to come in into the east
and to go up high.
In terms of distance to run, Thilo Hollyhouse has got 47 kilometres to go, and this group here, Didier, just looking down, he's got 53 kilometres to go. So there's 5 or 6 kilometres in it. But I'm sure Didier is hoping that this ridge run will be quick, and he'll be able to pull in some of the kilometres they've lost by cutting right. We've just got another view coming up of the group on the left, with Andres just a fraction out in front of Thilo. They're slowly reeling him in. Sebastian Carver there, Giorgio Galetto, Sebastian Nagel, Werner Arman and Bostian. And René Vidal just in there too. Bostian very disappointed yesterday, came in 10th place, worked really hard all day and just missed, I think it was 250 metres he missed out on 1 point with Gintis, who got 9th place I think. This is our 3rd day of racing. We've been here for 5 days, but we've had a couple of days where the weather's not done what we thought. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here. It looks like, is Thilo stopped to climb? No, he's still moving on. Yeah. This route to the left, to the east, going down to turn point 4, is not quite as straight as the group on the right will have.
They should keep flying all the ridges, and there are small valleys that they had to cross. The important thing is that here you had to keep east.
Yeah, they're all cutting back right now. They can't have had the altitude to carry straight on. They're going to come back on the low ridges by the look of it.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think that they have the altitude to go straight and to come back.
Yeah,
they would just have to go through those gates and to continue.
So they're now over that gate, and they're
have
turning
about
back.
40 kilometers to go.
Yeah, just looking at the altitudes, Lucas, who was off playing in the mountains, he's up nearly 4,000 meters. Thilo in 3 Victor, 3,100 meters, and Didier 2,500. So there's a difference of 500-600 meters between these two groups, and the group on the right-hand side are about 5 kilometers behind the group on the left. So can they pull it back, I wonder? One of the comments we've had is that Didier is the master of the low ridges, and perhaps that might be...
The problem is that once you get to the turn point, it's way inside to the east where he's flying now.
This will be interesting to see how this pans out. I must admit, Not that I'm a betting man, but I think I would prefer to be in the group on the left-hand side, the higher group.
Yes.
Yeah, they have two advantages. They're more direct route, they've got more altitude, but more importantly maybe, there's a bunch of really good pilots here, and together they can work it that little bit quicker. We can see the average speed creeping up now, 128, and we should probably see the last leg, once they're back on the mountains, is pretty much a final glide.
We're expecting the final leg, which is 100 kilometers, to be fast and furious. Talking of which, if you like Fast and Curious, we have a new feature we've been putting together here with each of the pilots, and if you want to entertain yourselves after the race, have a quick look through some of the interviews with the pilots, where we put them on the spot and ask them to answer the questions really quickly. Just checking to see what these guys are going to do next. Looks like they're turning down the track line now and running along that ridge you can see just in front of us. Thilo leading the way. We don't know quite where Andres is. Unfortunately, his track is playing up a little. We'll have to give him a bigger antenna for tomorrow. We think he's a little bit further out in front, and as soon as we pick up his signal, we'll give you a distance for him to run. Thilo now 31 kilometers to go. Giorgio Galetto just behind him, and Sebastian Carver, René Vidal, and Sebastian Nagel staying with the pack. Bostian from Slovenia in Echo Juliet still in touch. Werner Arman in that group as well. Thilo's got no sign of stopping now. He looks like he's going to push straight to the turn point.
That's right, yes. I think that Thilo is, they're just flying straight. He has to be careful to go through that valley.
Yeah, we're just going to try and make a call to Alex to see if we can get an update of the conditions. Alex is flying in a Nimbus 4D, 4DM, I believe. Yep. And we'll see if we can get an update from him. But in the meantime, this group running on down the track. The other group that went a little further to the west and lower, just wondering whether they've stopped to climb or whether they're still running. We're hoping to bring you Alex, but all we've got unfortunately is his answer phone. Perhaps he's enjoying himself too much, or being pressured by his number 2 to get her back down on the ground so that she can do the interviews of the winners. We're just watching these two groups go together, and what we'll try and do is let you know what's going on behind. Did Mario go round the corner? We're just trying to give you another view of where everybody is. Yes, indeed he did. Mario went round the TP2 and is now coming back with Gintis and Thomas in Zulu Zulu. Lucas has been round, so it is possible to go the really long way round, but not fast enough.
This is an interesting fact. The same time that all the guys have spent to going up, all these guys went to the west side. And if somebody will take the decision ahead of time, probably he will be ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that...
but unfortunately today it didn't work.
No, it didn't work because...
yeah. Meanwhile, back at the front, we'll just
don't
try and give you a better
forget
picture of the
that,
front. And just coming to you now, we don't quite know where Andres has got to, but Thilo is leading this group, just working his way down towards the next turn point. 20 kilometers to run, and from this bottom turn point, we think if they get there at 1800 meters or above, it will be a straight run back, 100 kilometers along the ridge, fast and furious. Sebastian stalking Thilo now. Sebastian Nagel there as well, Rene and Giorgio Galetto. I know that the Giorgio fan club are online. Very keen to see their Italian pilot do well. So from here, Mario, will they cut left a little to stay on the high ground, or do you think they'll come right?
They should go straight to, I mean, to get the ridge ahead of them. You can see there that they're already turning. Oh, they're turning thermal.
Yeah. Sebastian Nagel's got a decent climb there by the look of it. Sebastian Carva climbing 3.5 meters as well.
Thilo continue.
Thilo's missed it and moved on.
Looks like Werner Amann is going to follow him.
Yeah, will Werner just cut into that thermal as well? We're just missing a few data points there, but no, he's coming in to join that climb. Sebastian Nagel climbing 2.5 meters.
And I think that the four of these guys, there's Werner Amann, Sebastian Nagel, and Sebastian, they will want to stay together all the way. It's going to be cagey now. They don't want to lose sight of each other. There's cat and mouse. And in the middle of this, we've got Rene wondering if he can steal it from them. We'll just see. It'll just be very interesting to see how this unfolds.
And Thomas Gosner just coming into the bottom of the picture. We were asked a question about altitudes. We've got Thomas now at 3,000 meters or just under. Sebastian Carva 3,300, and Thilo off in the distance at just under 3,000. Tom Kelly at the top of that list. We haven't seen much of Tom today. I think he was just going to go and enjoy himself, to be honest. It's been a bit of a surprise for him to get a glider here, but he's taking it easy.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff where they've been today. You can't fly in those areas without a reasonable amount of experience and knowing exactly what it is you're going to do, what your escape routes are, and so on. So for Tom, who has very little experience of mountain flying and no experience here, he needs to take it really carefully. And he's a good man. He understands his limitations. He understands he's trying to learn how to do this, and he's going to hang back a little bit and stay high. And I can't say anybody would blame him for doing that.
Meanwhile, this group have now decided to move on from their climb, and they're heading on towards turn point 4. And it's setting itself up to be a really good finish here with this group. The one unknown we've got at the moment is Andres, whose track is not working particularly well. We believe he's at 3,160 meters, and we think he's just a little bit further ahead than this group. Thilo didn't get the climb and pushed on, so we think the running order is Andres out in front, followed by Thilo, and now in third place Sebastian Carva, followed by René Vidal and Sebastian Nagler. We just need a few more data points. Hopefully as they run back from turn point 4 back towards the finish here, we'll get some good data. We've got a very good antenna on the top of the clubhouse with a yogi, a directional antenna that points directly south. So hopefully that'll give us some good data. Just wondering whether Angle is, yeah, he's nodding-ish. He's hoping we'll get some good data on the way back.
once you make the turn point number 4, you should get back in the same way that they went in.
Yep. So in terms of the trip back, it's 100 kilometers. We're not expecting them to stop and climb.
No.
They need something like 1,800, 200 meters at this turn point to be able to run all the way home. How close will they be to the black line indicating the direct route? Will they have to come around the mountains here?
We'll just have to go around the mountains, and then just coming out, we might see, and we have later on a view from the top, and we're going to see the way that they fly.
We've just got a bit of data back from Andres, and looks like Thilo's caught him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're running together now. Thilo just in front. Ventus 2 versus Ventus 3. There's a great picture now as they're coming into this turn point. The turn point is in the valley and is Socavon Valley. It's actually at 755 meters, so about 100 meters higher than the airfield here.
That's right, yes.
But they'll come back onto the ridges. There's a great view. We've got the turn point on the right hand side. And see, we can brand the turn points now. So if there's anybody out there in sponsorship land who'd like to see their name on all the turn points, we'd be very pleased to hear from you. Thilo now 3 kilometers to run, just under. Andres just hot on his heels. He must have been quite surprised, actually. He was out on his own all day.
Andres, yeah, he's surprised. He might have thought he's left behind, you never know. But Thilo's now having a great time. Thilo loves this. He loves to be out in front. He loves to be making the pace. And he'll be so excited now that his flying will be absolutely superb. And it's fabulous to watch them running along this rock face to get that last bit of energy into the turn and back along the rock face. That's when he'll see the other group coming in and he'll know that he's in the lead. Until then, he couldn't be certain that somebody hasn't turned before him.
Yeah, this will be interesting. We're just, as they come into the turn point, we can probably see the distances now. We'll just change to altitude. Thilo, 2,600 meters. So he's 800 meters higher than we thought they would need to be at this point. So this is going to be a really fast run back.
Yeah, that's all they need. They just have to fly the ridges, the same ridges that are Sebastian and René flying in. They will just have to fly it out.
So absolutely no need to climb again now. So 100 kilometers, no climb to get home.
The other thing is that once you get below 2,500 meters, you get the effect of the southwest wind of the valley from Santiago, and that's the one that they use to come back.
Just watching this group now as they go in and out of the turn points. So first place is Thilo Hollyhouse. Second is Andres from Chile. And in third place, Sebastian Carva, closely followed by Sebastian Nagel and René Vidal. And then not too far behind them, only a kilometer or so maximum, with Werner Arman and Bostian and Giorgio Galetto.
I hope that Andres is going to be flying and learning from Thilo. Andres is not a race pilot. Is a good explorer of the different routes. I thought that he was going to follow Thilo, but you can see that he's flying the ridges, keeping the height, and being able to get some more speed, but not going straight.
Yeah, at Thilo's average speed climbing now just over the 133 kilometers an hour mark.
And of course, we see the group that took the high route from the last turning point, and we don't see any sign yet of Didier and John coming in here. So obviously their choice of going lower and on the more western side of the mountains wasn't a good idea, and they've lost a lot now because they must be quite a way behind if we can't see them on this.
Thilo now pushing harder, coming round the western side of this mountain. We see middle left of the picture. Andres taking a higher route, and the others behind following Andres rather than following Thilo. Thilo now at 2,480 meters, and Andres at 2,500. So there's about 100 meters in it.
They were going to go above the copper mine, the Braden copper mine, the Teniente, or Sewell, and then on the left side of the screen you can see that is it's a lake for the surplus of the copper production.
And Mario, how high are these peaks just here? What's the height of these mountains?
These are rather low. For us, low is around 3,000 meters, and you can see that from here you go straight to the left side of the screen to the valley.
Yeah, we just see
Didier
there low.
is coming in and just getting into.
Oh, Didier is low, 1,800 meters.
Very low. He will have to have find an area of climbing.
Yes, just on that ridge in front of him. Yeah, where the mouse is now.
So all you armchair glider pilots out there watching this, I'm sure you're all saying to yourselves, been there, I've made the same mistake, I've done that, and I know just how it feels when you make a wrong decision and it all gets worse. Poor old Didier, but he'll come home okay, but he's really lost any places today.
This looks like a good day for Thilo. A couple of days without any points. So if he can hang on to the lead and get 10 points, he'll be very happy indeed.
I think it's going to be interesting because behind Thilo and Andres, we have Sebastian Cava, Sebastian Nagel, and René Vidal. And those three guys are racer, and they're going not to get away the points. They're going to look for the points. I think that they're going to catch them.
Don't forget, they need to be no lower than 850 meters at the finish. They've got a distance of 90 odd kilometers to go. Sebastian Cava 92 kilometers, Sebastian Nagel 93 kilometers.
And a moment ago, Sebastian Kummel, we call him, Sebastian Nagel, he was a little bit higher, and I suspect on this run he's not going to try to pass Sebastian until they get sort of 30 kilometers, 20 kilometers from home.
Yeah.
He's going to be very happy to sit behind, and if Sebastian makes a mistake, he'll observe that and try and avoid it, and if Sebastian finds good air, then Kummel will use it as well. He's in a very good position at the moment, and he'll be very keen to keep that position.
And for those of you who don't speak German, Krummel is small pieces of bread or croutons. In terms of goal arrival height, we've got a sort of ready reckoner based on the altitude you've got and the speed you're at and the distance to go. And it doesn't seem to make a great deal of sense when they're running ridges into the finish. So we'll probably dispense with that one.
Yeah, the deficit you can see there of 1,000 meters, that is the energy deficit. And what each of these fast leading pilots are going to try to do is just build that back without having to stop and climb. So if they can fly through enough energy going straight along these ridges, then they'll build it back. But I'm not absolutely sure they will be able to do it in one run. They may need to just top up a little bit on the way back, because the day's not turned out to be quite as good as we expected, and so we'll just have to see.
Thilo still out in front, Andres in second place, followed by Sebastian Carver, and then very close between Sebastian Nagel and René Vidal. And then another group behind with Giorgio Galetto, Werner Arman and Bostian from Slovenia.
You can see that they're speeding up. We can see that René is flying about above 200 kilometers.
Yeah, 240 kilometers an hour now.
And that's all they need.
And you're absolutely confident that they don't need to climb again. They just need to keep running and running and running.
Keep running, and they can go fast. You can see that Andres is not a racer; it's just only 170.
Yeah, I just had a question about wing loading for these competitors. For this event, we have a maximum wing loading of 52 kilograms per square meter, and they're weighed every day. And that's our way in Grand Prix racing of equalising the competitors' gliders.
Yeah, there's always a big debate about mass and wing loading, but we've chosen for the last few Grand Prix to operate with everybody at the same maximum wing loading, and it seems to work pretty good despite differences of opinion. The wing loading, of course, is gained by putting the water in the glider, but they all carry slightly different amounts because they're slightly different weights. But the wing weight and the wing loading combination means that they're all flying at the same loading, and that's really important to try to equalize the performance of them. The reason we don't fly at maximum weight is because the gliders are much easier to handle in the mountains, and when flying along the mountain faces and climbing away, the extra performance you get in the handling of the glider makes a lot difference to safe flying, and we will always have a lower than maximum weight for this competition when we fly it in the mountains.
So not too far to go now, 72 kilometers for Thilo, who's out in front. Not far behind him is Andres from Chile, followed by Sebastian Carver, and then René Vidal and Krimmel.
I wonder how Mario is going to feel coming the other way and seeing them going underneath him like this. He's going to be, well, I suppose he's resigned to it by now. He's probably already in the Zen zone and knowing that he's just going to finish the flight and go home.
Yeah.
He's flying with a local Thomas Reich.
Yeah, Thilo now at 2,000 meters. Just pulling up a little and then pushing on again as he hits a sink. 69 kilometers to go. And we're back to the goal arrival. Still looking at about 1,100 meters under for a final glide if they didn't have the influence of the ridge that they're flying along. But the local knowledge says stick with the ridge and you'll get home.
That's right, yes. That's the area we call the Leonera. It's a typical ridge from coming south. And with that height that Thilo has, it's just a continuous ridge flying, pushed by the southwest wind, and that's enough altitude.
So Thilo just pulling up, using the energy he gets just on the corner there, coming back round to the right, and then straighten up and follow the ridge along. That's a nice pull up. Andres following on behind, and the Sebastian Carver at the bottom of the picture. Thilo doing really well there. That face there must be right in the sun now.
It is on the sun, and also the southwest wind is pushing up.
So for people who don't normally fly in these conditions, it's really important to gain what altitude you can when you have really good energy. So slowing right down, and you can see the panel at the bottom of the screen for Thilo and for Sebastian, and you'll see the speed changing as they come into the areas with energy, slowing right down to 140, 130 kilometers an hour sometimes, and then pushing back up to 220, 230. And if they can continue to run like this, they may pick up enough energy to come home in one go. I'm still not convinced. I still think there's a possibility they'll need to do a little turn here or there just to top it back up again.
Thilo getting another good pull up there as he just goes over the top of that spine. From here, Mario, will they jump across the valley, or will they come up into the valley?
No, they just go straight. They cross this valley, go around there, hit this one, go to the next one, and then they cross inside to the Cerro Blanco, White Mountain, continue to the San Ramon, and from there ridge get to the 3K and the line.
You make it sound real easy, Mario.
Well, as a matter of fact, this is one of the finest ridge flying that we always teach to everybody here. To start in that area in La Leonera at 2,000, and you have to get home without flying anything, not turning. Just keep. It's just like surfing the ridges.
Just watching Thilo crossing the valley now, and he'll be pushing hard, 230 kilometers an hour now, trying to get to that next high patch there.
Sebastian is pushing 240.
Sebastian pushing a little bit harder. Andres is not hanging about either, is he?
No.
Yeah.
No. He knows that he has it.
Yeah. We were talking to him on the grid the other day. He really does enjoy his flying, doesn't he?
Yes.
He's got a nice Arcus that
Nice
we're hoping to
Arcus,
have a
and
fly in later on in the week.
He knows about the mountain, everything, every secret, especially in winter.
Well, he's about to get a little bit of extra knowledge now on the way in which you really push fast along these ridges, because it's not when you have a competitive situation like this, these guys are really good at this. They're really good at just using every ounce of energy and getting the speed just right to extract that. And I would think Andreas is probably having a ball at the moment. He won't fly in company like this again for a long time.
So we just saw the graphic there that Thilo's 1.6 kilometers in front of Andres, and 270 meters between Andres and Sebastian. The goal arrival height changing now, so Thilo's only got to make 830 meters. Sebastian 900 meters, but they seem to be confident.
Obviously, is Sebastian Cava trying to push and get ahead to get an extra point.
So we've got Ventus 3, followed by Ventus 2, followed by JS1, and then 2 more Ventus 3s. I know there shouldn't be a difference. They're all white with a T-tail, aren't they, really? Just great to see them work this ridge, and such great graphics from Silent Wings, and good data. Thank you, Angle. Thilo now just cutting right. That ridge there looks like it will work better. And they'll run down that spine.
There. and then from there you go to the Blanco, and Blanco the San Ramon. That's the area.
So they're now about 200 meters lower than when they started running, and they run about 30 kilometers. So it's interesting to see the deficit has dropped to about half what it was. Started with 1,000 meters and now we're down to 570 meters deficit.
So the position's still Tilo out in front, followed by Andres, and then Sebastian Carva, followed by René Vidal, and then Krimmel, Sebastian Nagel. Running along between sort of 130, 140 when they're pulling up to 200 kph. Just working the ridges, working the energy, slowly reducing the deficit. Sebastian Carva and Tilo roughly the same altitude now. Tilo not showing any signs of slowing down.
Yeah, these are different routes. Tilo went going over those small hills, and Sebastian went a bit inside to the Cerro Blanco. Usually on the right side you get more lift.
Yeah, and Andres is not doing it though either.
That same one that René is going.
So René will go further right, you think?
Well, there could just be a line of energy outside marked by a few cumulus, which we can't see. And so they could just be using a little thermal line there, do you think, Mario?
No, I don't think that you see any cumulus there. It's just that because of the south wind, you get some lift where Tilo and Andres are going, but you also get some lift on the right side where Sebastian Cava is flying.
So this will be interesting to see which way it works. René thinks right. Just looking at the goal deficit now, they're down to 500 meters. Altitude now, Tilo, 1,665 meters.
So Tilo's route looks like it was a good one. He's come out the other side. He's a kilometre ahead, and he's gained 50 meters or so. Doesn't sound like much, but it's probably going to make quite a difference at the end.
Tilo's deficit now 450 meters. Just looking at how far they've got to run, 42 kilometers to run. For Tilo, his average speed now just coming up underneath the 140 kilometers an hour mark. Crossing this valley again.
That valley is Rio Clarillo. It's like a clear water river. The next one that we have ahead on the screen, it's Rio Maipo. The same one that we cross from the turn point 3 to turn point 4.
Tilo still pushing on 210 kilometers an hour. Distance to run now just under 40. And what's his deficit now, Benji? Can you give us a... Yeah, just 480 meters or so. So they're either going to need to slow down a little and gain a bit of height, or they may need to stop and turn. But Mario says no. He's waving his finger at me.
The things that make a difference when you're working out the best tactic here is to be just a few meters lower when they reach the last of the ridges, means having to fly actually maybe a kilometer further to come round where it's lower. So it's a combination of energy and distance and being able to fly more direct on the route. But one thing that we are certain about is that none of these guys in this group will do anything particularly different, because they can't. It's going to be such a fast run, they've got to stick together. if the guys at the front make a bit of a mistake, you can be pretty sure they all will.
Big pull up from Thilo there. He's now down to just 420 meters deficit.
Yeah, there usually you should follow a ridge to the right side.
Don't forget the finish altitude they need to be above is 850 meters, and the valley floor here, the height of the airfield, is 684 meters, something like that.
684,
Yeah.
yes.
There you go, not too bad. Thilo following down the spine there, good climb there. He's now under 400 meters required to get back. Don't forget the next turn point is like a checkpoint, and that's just to bring them in so that they fly down the center of the airfield here.
Here probably they're going to split. Andres is going to go straight, and Thilo just follow the ridges over there. And the usual route that we work is the one that Andres is doing.
So we see Andres turning right there, and we should see Rene follow the same route.
I think so, yes.
Well, from where I'm standing and looking at that ridge, I would have followed the ridge, I'm pretty sure, because it looks like quite a nice line, and we can see Thilo's deficit really hasn't dropped very much. It's gone a couple of kilometers now without much difference. But we'll see in a moment, Mario, whether Andres has chosen that better route towards the small hill there. The airfield is just the other side of the mountain you can see in front, and they have to come round the corner and run along the face of it.
Very exciting racing. Nobody
Yeah,
stopped and turned.
From here they have 25 kilometers to go.
Distance to the finish, we're being asked. If you look in the screens at the bottom, you've got distance left to go for each of the competitors. And Andres has got 29.5 kilometers to go. Thilo has got 28.5. And just following Thilo now, out in front, about a kilometer in front of Andres, closely followed by Sebastian Cava. Looking at the deficit, again Thilo's got just around the 400 meter mark. Some of the guys a little further back have got less, so Thomas Gostner we saw taking an extra climb. Bostjan staying a bit more conservative, as is Werner Arman.
So the real crunch time now. On this slope, there should be southwest wind, and they should be able to draw the deficit completely back before they go around the next corner. If they've got more than 100 meters deficit to the next corner, they could start to be in trouble and have to slow down. But this is a good energy area they're going to run along for the next couple of kilometers.
Thilo just taking a little bit of extra height there, but pulling up. Andres doing the same thing, slowing down, just using the energy.
But they also have to go above power line.
And sorry, whereabouts is the power lines, Mario?
Is that line here?
Yeah, the white line in the middle of the screen that we can see. There's a set of power wires, and they need to
and to go over,
ideally go over the top.
They need 1300, so they had to go around.
Yeah, Thilo down at 1160 meters. Have they pushed themselves too hard here?
Yes, I think so, yes.
It's a follow my leader game, this. It's almost a game of chicken. But there is enough brain power out there amongst Sebastian Nagel and Thilo to have worked this out. They'll have flown this ridge several times. They'll be fairly confident they're going to get a good run along the ridge with and climb back up. They didn't get very good energy on the ridge before where they should have done, but you can see Thilo's climbing now.
Just slowing down, running, using the energy, coming back right up the slope.
The line of good lift is the one that Andres is following. You have to go inside of the power line, close to the hill. That's what they're doing now.
This is all very tense now.
Just there.
Thilo 200 meters deficit at the moment.
We're all waiting with our fingers crossed to see that number at the top drop down to 0. When that drops down to 0, we can start to breathe a little bit more cleanly, because we can be much more confident they're all going to come home.
I was just thinking about the checkpoint that they've got to go through. I thought it was on top of the hill, but actually it cuts through half the hill. So I was worried that they might not be able to get over the top of it. Thilo out in front. Not very far to run now. He's 18.9 kilometers to the finish line. And his deficit currently 138 meters. Mario's still confident that he'll make it back.
Yeah, they are already.
Well, there's nowhere for them to climb now.
No. Oh, this is a continuous run. Tilo knows that. Andres also knows that. I think that Sebastian has a lot of experience in this area. And I can see that René is coming too.
Well, the distance left on the task is 17 kilometers, and they've only got about 300 meters above their minimum finish height. So that's actually quite marginal, especially at the speeds they're flying at. And either they're going to have to get some energy, or they're going to have to slow down. The sums don't add up to keep flying at 200 kilometers an hour and make it without something else happening.
And we can see a move being made by Bostian, who is a little higher. It's got a little bit more energy. He's further up the hill. That's a good picture there.
He's going ahead of
René. He's just overtaken René. And next in his sights is Sebastian Nagel. And the Slovenian gliding team and all very keen glider pilots in Slovenia will be watching him, wishing him well and pushing him on. Not the biggest gliding nation in the world, but they certainly enjoy their gliding. Got some great mountains there. They ran a great Grand Prix, which I was lucky enough to go to. Scared the living daylights out of me, must admit.
Okay, what you can see now is the distance between Sebastian and Krummel. It was 1.3 kilometers when they started. It's 950 meters. That's nothing. There's almost no change since they started running this ridge, which is remarkable.
Andres just a little lower, but getting a good pull up. Bostian now got a positive arrival height, so has Thilo. Andres now turned positive as well. Good lift in this area. Thilo now 11 kilometers to run.
Yeah, most people would feel really uncomfortable now because they're really quite low down on these hills. It's a very gentle slope. It's very close to the city, but they've done this before. They know what happens. It's pretty well run route, and everybody's having a great time. They're very excited at the moment about the finish that's just about to come up.
Now Thilo's making a move now. He's coming off the hills, heading towards the checkpoint, crossing the top of the city here at Vitacura. Andres coming off the hill as well.
It looks very dangerous when we're flying, but to the left side of the screen, to the west of that ridge, about 4 kilometers, we have a runway. It's an excellent runway, just in case that if you're not going to make it to Vitacura, then you just turn left and land.
Yeah. The bailout options are either that or the swimming pool at the hotel, I think.
That's right.
There's a great view Benji's giving us as they cut across the top of the city. They've got to go through the red cylinder at the top of the screen and then left to the finish line. Total distance now to go for Andres is 8 kilometers and just a little bit less for Thilo, 7.6 for Thilo. Really exciting finish again. Who'd have thought you could fly 359 kilometres and have 5 gliders within a couple of kilometres at the finish. So
I think it's a remarkable result for Andres flying Aventus 2.
Fantastic. He'll be ecstatic. The beers will be on Andres tonight. Do you think Sebastian will catch Andres, or do you think Andres will keep pushing?
No, I think that Andres has a clear view of Tilo and just following him. If he sees that Tilo is going to do it, why I'm not going to do it?
Tilo just slowing down a little now, and they're all compressing together now, just trying to maintain a little bit of altitude as they come into the finish.
Yeah. He should be able to see the others on the farm behind him, and he's probably making sure he doesn't get a penalty. He knows that it doesn't matter how far behind they finish as long as it's behind. So if we keep the distance between Papa and 3 Victor, between Sebastian and Tilo, we'll see if Sebastian manages to close up.
In fact, the whole fleet is compressing now as they just try to maintain enough altitude to go across the finish line. Just coming into the turn point now. Look how they're compressing now.
They have to make sure that they mark.
This will be a really close finish. And Roland, our referee, I think you better get yourself ready. I think you're going to have a few penalty points to dish out with this lot here. Incredibly close now. Line abreast. Sebastian just pushing out in front. Andres just hanging on in front of Tilo. Tilo now just a nose in front. Closely followed by Sebastian Nagel and Echo Juliet. Wow, this is fantastic. Sebastian Carver just pulling in front of Tilo. Andres hanging on. Sebastian Nagel absolutely wingtip to wingtip with Bostian. Bostian just pulling ahead just by a fraction. Less than a kilometre to run now. As Sebastian Carver looks like he might have just edged it. Followed by Tilo, and then in third place looks like Andres. Fourth looks like Bostian might just have pipped Sebastian Nagel. And the altitudes will be really interesting.
Yeah, that was close. That was very close. And I think Bostian played a blinder. He did really well to catch up there. And Sebastian, well, he took his little JS1 and he's pipped past the Ventus 3s. So the conversation on Monday will change to a different story. And we see Werner coming in now, who's done really well, and Rene. So all of these guys are in the points.
We think that was 5 gliders in 3 seconds across the line.
Yeah, I think that the most interesting race is the Bostian, that was way behind before getting to Cerro Blanco, and slowly he was pushing, get a good lift, and get a good speed.
Roughly the result, we believe, is Sebastian Carver first across the line, followed by Tilo Hollyhouse, and in third place Bostian, fourth Andres, and Sebastian Nagel in fifth. Werner Arman then following along in sixth, with Rene in seventh, Giorgio Galetto in eighth, and a final point for Thomas Gostner. Yet to be clarified, but as soon as the gliders arrive back at the airfield, we'll take their flight recorders and try and get it into the scoring system as fast as we can for you. Well, that's the most amazing, fantastic, closest race I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. Including the route that they use, they took some time to get high altitude. They got up to 5,000. They went south, and from the south point, once they get enough altitude, they just beginning to go north, and we saw that that was almost a straight 70 kilometers flight with no turns, just using the ridges.
It was a most stunning race, and after 360 odd kilometres, to have that many gliders finish so closely together, it was just superb. Great tracking. I'd like to thank everybody here. Thanks, Mario, for your local knowledge and your comments, and Benji for doing a great job with Silent Wings, and Ankle here, who's organised all the tracking data. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you, so thank you very much. And our video team here who help us put together all the videos and helped with the streaming. Apologies for the poor quality early on. We'll learn some lessons from this and try and put it right for tomorrow. In the meantime, we'll sign off now and go and get a glass of water or two.